Hi doulas, how are you all doing? It's been a while. I don't know, I think I keep saying that lately. Part of me feels like I've answered a lot of those common questions that doulas, especially new doulas, are often asking. But I had another question recently posed to me by someone that did training with me, and I thought it would be a really great time with this beautiful view I have in my background here to go over this. So the question posed to me recently by a doula was, how do I understand the human brain better so that I am not triggering people and so that things don't escalate? And because of course that's really, really important part of being a doula. And when the question was posed, it felt so huge that I don't even think I knew how to answer precisely that question. But I'm here in Guatemala and I'm hanging out with a bunch of super cool people at this festival. And I had this really interesting experience earlier on this week where I was with a whole bunch of people that I didn't know and that didn't know me. And so we were getting to know each other, but asking a lot of those sort of, philosophical questions, if you will, around, life and existence. And we were here in Guatemala. I swear everything is uphill. Even going downhill feels like it's going uphill somehow. My calves are on fire right now. I don't even know how this happens. But anyhow, so we're going uphill. And so, we kept kind of breaking up into different groups because people were going at different paces. And I was having this conversation with someone. And, we were chatting and I was asking some questions. And after I separated from that person, I ended up walking with the person who had been walking behind us. And he said, "Oh, I really like what you did just there." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, I could tell that maybe you didn't necessarily agree, but I wasn't sure. But I loved how you asked questions to kind of probe a little bit further for an explanation in that person's beliefs." And I thought about it, and to be honest, I don't even know what we were talking about, but I thought about it and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I was just being a doula. And so in light of those questions that the other doula had asked me a week or two ago, it got me thinking that maybe a big part of what we end up doing as doulas, especially once we've been doing this for a while, is it starts to become an unconscious way of being. And I want to expand on that a little bit today, because I'm sure some of you out there maybe you've had some difficult experiences with clients, you're not quite sure, what you did right or wrong, how to process it, or maybe you just find yourself really disliking working with certain types of clients, or I don't know, whatever the situation might be for you. I do think there are some things that we need to be thinking about as doulas, and that through both our own personal maturity and our growth as a doula, that we can be doing more effectively. So here are a few things that I personally believe about being a doula. You may or may not agree, and that's totally cool. And actually, if you don't, I would love your thoughts and your comments in the comment section below, because I think that there's a lot of growth from people challenging our beliefs. And for me personally, I know that I'm always open to that kind of an experience, for someone to challenge my beliefs and for me to reconsider them, because then I either feel more firm about my beliefs or maybe I have an opportunity to change them. So here are a few things that I believe about being a doula. One, I think that our clients shouldn't be able to guess our beliefs through our working interactions with each other. I think anytime that our client can guess what our opinions, our philosophy, our beliefs are, it creates an opportunity for us to no longer connect and for them to no longer feel like we're offering completely judgment-free support. If someone knows that let's just use a common example in the doula world, is if my client believes that I'm someone who is against circumcision, then it might be difficult for my client to talk to me about circumcision questions about their baby if that's something that they're planning. And there's a million other things in the doula world, in the birthing world, that our clients could perceive our own opinions around, inductions, medication, cesarean, feeding, infant feeding. I mean, there's so many places that our own personal beliefs could come out. And every time that becomes evident, it creates a gap between our ability to fully connect with our clients. So I think that's number one, is your clients shouldn't be able to tell what your beliefs are and your preferences are just through interaction. That means being really neutral in the way that we talk to people, in the way that we provide information about something. We need to be able to be neutral all the time. Now, I think that's an interesting contrast with something else that I say a lot, which is understanding your target market and being able to understand, your target market fully, and to have the perfect target market. That's going to be such key to your own growth as a doula. So that's really important. But remember that our target market doesn't need to be exactly who we are. And a target market is a guideline, it's an outline. There's someone that's going to be a more likely good fit to work with you. It doesn't mean that all of your clients are going to have the same beliefs as you, of course. I know you all know this, but what I see happening out in the doula community is doulas that are pretty firm in their beliefs. And I don't think that should be that evident to clients. I don't think my clients should be able to guess what kinds of choices I would make in a situation just from our interaction. And I've told stories about this before, and I often use the term a doula chameleon, that I think we should be able to fit wherever we're at with whatever client, and the client should feel like we are 100% on board with them and their choices. So the second thing that I feel really strongly about is just basically not sharing our opinions. And I think in a lot of trainings, a lot of doulas really understand that we're not there to tell people what to believe. We know that this is the essence of the doula role. It's not to tell people, but help them to come up with their own beliefs. And yet, I find the way that most of us present information is fairly biased. If someone asks you about, let's keep with the circumcision question, if someone asks us about circumcision and we give them a whole bunch of information that's against circumcision, or websites that are very slanted in the anti-circumcision camp, then that's going to be really, that's not super unbiased, is it? And I know sometimes there's information that just from a statistical perspective leans in one direction. But I do believe that we can present things in a way that still allows things to remain neutral, where we can say, well, some of the evidence would suggest this. Some of the reasons someone might choose the other path is this. And I think something like that makes it more unbiased. So coming back to now communication with people. And this particular doula's question around how can I not trigger people? So that was a really interesting. That's a really interesting question, and I think it actually relates to the 2 points that I just made. If we're presenting something in a way that is really empathetic and very neutral, I think we're much less likely to trigger people. If the way that we say something comes across as firm or very direct, I think that's where we get into those sticky situations where maybe our clients or our colleagues start to feel less connected to us and they start to feel judged. And of course, that's the opposite of how we want our colleagues and our clients to feel. So we don't want them to be feeling judged by anything that we say. Now, I think communication is just so huge and so much bigger than anything I could ever do justice to in one of these little videos. I think it is incumbent upon us as doulas. I think it is our responsibility as doulas to constantly improve our communication skills. And improving our communication skills is not something that we just do with our doula clients. one of the things I love about this work is I think it's made me a better person all around. I think it's made me a better parent. 100% hands down has made me a better partner, because learning about communication and diving into that allows us to connect with our own selves, our thoughts, our beliefs. Probably most importantly is our ego. Anytime that we have a reaction to something that someone else is saying, that's our ego that's speaking to us. It's rising its head and saying like, this is in conflict with something that you believe. And I think those are really, really wonderful opportunities for self-growth. And I think the more self-growth we do as humans, I think the better doulas we become. And that's one of the things that I've loved the most about 17 years of this journey, is seeing my own personal transition in my communication, in my empathy, in being able to offer non-judgmental support. Now, and offering non-judgmental support doesn't mean we don't have judgments. It means that our clients don't feel our judgments and our beliefs from the way that we speak. And that's the key right there. So every time that we recognize our own ego, we recognize our own beliefs, our own inherent biases, and that helps us to then work on that in the future. Imagine if every time you had a reaction and you noticed, oh wow, my ego responded there. Why did my ego respond? What is it? What belief do I have? What experience have I had in my life that's making my ego respond? And questioning that and digging deep into that to figure out the answer, because then hopefully the next time that comes up, we're able to respond in a way that that is different, in a way that our clients don't see our own beliefs, our own judgments, our own biases. And I think part of that too is having a really good poker face. So I think a lot of us don't have a really good poker face. And that's something to work on for sure. You need to be able to respond in the exact same way, no matter what your client says. If your client says something that shocks you, the teeny tiniest little movement of your eyebrows can create a disconnect between you and your client. Your client says to you, let's stick with the circumcision one, just because I know it's common and we started using it in this video. So your client says, oh, well, I'm planning to circumcise my baby because, I want the baby to look like the baby's dad. And so where can I get that done? And if your personal belief is that that's a silly reason to do it, even if you know logically that you need to respond with, hey, why don't I send you some information about that? If when your client says that, you go, that tiny little movement of your eyebrows, the tiny little bit of reaction, a stiffening of your body, all of those things are going to create that gap in connection. And that's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve your client. And I'm pretty sure in terms of your role as a doula, it's probably not who you want to be. You probably want to be someone who can provide that non-judgmental support and who can respond to a client, not react to a client. And so I think all of those things are really important elements. Having a good poker face, checking our own ego, understanding and digging deep into our own personal bias, into just areas that we need to learn more about. And ultimately, this is about learning more about humanity. This is about learning about that there are so many different types of people in the world, and it's so wonderful. And in the doula world specifically, I find that a lot of clients are looking for someone who is like them. It's one of the few areas in life where I find people deliberately saying, I want a doula who fits these criteria, this cultural criteria, this skin color, this identification. And the reason for that is because they don't want to feel judged. They want someone who understands and can be empathetic to their lived experience. And listen, and the truth is, there's some things about us that we will never be able to identify with the lived experience of someone who is dramatically different from us. And that's part of the work that we need to do on ourselves, is we need to do the work to learn about other cultures, other ways of life, so that we can be the best type of support for families who identify differently than we do, who have had a different experience than we do. And I think the more that we do that, the better fit we are going to be for any type of client. I don't think there's anything wrong with people choosing doulas that look like them, that have had the lived experience that they've had. That makes a lot of sense to me. I know for me personally, I want to expand my knowledge of humanity, of different ways of life, so that I can be a better doula for anyone that hires me, even if they don't look like me, even if they've had a different lived experience than me. And ultimately, isn't that what it comes down to when we talk about empathy? You know, I mean, isn't that kind of the essence of being able to empathize with someone else's experience? And that can be an experience of pregnancy, birth, or it can be a lived experience. It's very windy here today. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to say about that. I hope that this gives you a little bit of food for thought. Now, when it comes to doing the work on all of these things, some of the work is just the work we're going to do personally. Some of it is, guys, you got to learn some stuff, right? Folks, like, listen to some podcasts, do some deep dive reading and learning into communication, communication skills. One of the things that I encourage people to do the most is, instead of when someone asks you a question, is ask another question back, right? As soon as someone asks us a question and we respond with an answer, there's judgment, inherent judgment in our statement. What if you asked another question? Try that for a week with the people around you, with your clients, your family, your friends, and see what that looks like. See how that feels. What does that do? I think that's a really great start right there. But, you know, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have suggestions for really great books and reading podcasts about this particular topic, I think that would be really helpful for our doula colleagues. And I hope I've been able to at least incite some questioning in your thought process or how you work. Love to hear your ideas. Subscribe, share your thoughts below, and I'll see you next time.